Perfecto. All right, let me get my second screen in order so that I can see everything. And hold up. Yeah, my laser pointer. Perfect. Welcome. Welcome to the event. Let's get it going. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, halfway to Friday. You did it. And so welcome to the TAAG monthly webinar. And so we'll do introductions on who we are and whatnot here in a second. But I just want to say it's going to be fun today. We keep this pretty interactive. So you guys have been sounding off in the chat. That's awesome. We're going to be using the chat for two purposes. One, just general interaction and understanding. So I'll be asking for some basic questions and I'll ask for the one in the chat, two in the chat, just to see where you guys are on certain things and concepts. And then two, we're going to be collecting in the moment questions and then also questions that we are going to load into our back end Q&A. And so I'll give you a whole agenda on what we're doing. But if you got questions, throw them in there. If you see me heart the question, we may hit it in the moment, but we'll definitely get to it in the Q&A, right? So I'm just hearting it so that I can go back through, scroll, and easily see it, right? So just keep that in mind. So all questions are welcome. Ask questions in the moment. We will likely be able to answer a few of them in the moment, not a lot of them. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. Let's kick this thing off. Booyah. And this is all about Dataverse for Teams, guys. So welcome. Really cool stuff to show you today. We're excited. We do these monthly, so we hope that you come to the next one too. But before we get started on the actual content, I like to kind of put a bug in your ear and make you think on some things, right? I got to kind of make sure the ground is fertile for all this goodness. So I want you to think, what do you want to get most out of your time today? I asked a few guys this before we started the call, and I want you to put that into the chat. What do you want to get most out of your time today, right? What do you want to learn most? What are your questions? Load them up, load them up, load them up, load them up, right? And that'll actually help direct what we do today. Because there's a million things that I can show you, but I'm looking to show you the most important 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. And then secondarily, all of us work for these agencies that do huge mission critical work, right? But we understand the odds, the ends, the good, the bads, and the uglies. So I want to know, what's your agency's current state? Don't put this in the chat, but just start thinking on this, right? Keep this in mind. What's our current state? And then what's the dream state? What processes would you make sure to, what 10 steps would you take down to 2? What things that are mandated or are manual, which you make automated, and then what are the things that are very archaic that you would like to kind of bring up to modern ways of doing it, right? So keep in mind current state and dream state, because what's going to happen is there's a survey on the back of this where we're going to invite you guys to come work with us and start to flesh out some really cool solutions, right? It helps if you got that mindset on where you are and where you want to be as you get all this new information, because one of these things, if not multiple of these things, is going to probably impact you and make you want to build something in your agency, right? Make sense? I'm going to pretend that this head nods on the other side of the camera. All right, so let's rock and roll. Introductions. I'm already talking, so I guess I'll keep talking for right now. I'm Joshua, but everybody calls me Josh, and I'm a customer success manager by title, but really I'm an apps and extensibility specialist. So all that means is that all the cool stuff that we can put into teams that help your agency stay on app, modernize your processes, automation, all that jazz, that's what I'm tasked with doing. That's what I enjoy doing, right? I get tasked with making cool success stories. And we're joined by a little bit of a genius over here. I say a little bit, but it's a lot of bit. And it's my partner in crime. I'll let her introduce herself.
So hello, I am Rebecca Jones, and I'm a customer engineer here at Microsoft. I'm getting an echo.
Oh, let me mute just in case.
Okay. So I'm a customer engineer here at Microsoft, working on the Power Platform as well as SharePoint. Been here about almost 7 years, and when I'm not working, you can find me playing with Legos, driving trains, and knitting and crocheting.
And yeah, it's funny. Yesterday, I didn't know that she drove trains, so I was like, "Oh, that's crazy!" And I didn't do a fun fact. I can do a backflip, and I've been at Microsoft a long time too. 8 years now. It's my 8th year, but I don't drive trains, so I'm not as cool. Sweet. So now that we're not strangers, we can talk, right? And by the way, Rebecca, she says she's good at Power Platform and whatnot, but she's our guru in house, so she's got a lot of stuff to show. So here's a quick layout of what we're going to be doing today, all right? So what is Dataverse for Teams? There's plenty of questions around that. Let's get you educated on what that looks like. Then we'll go to examples of what's possible with apps built on the top of Dataverse for Teams, right? So once you know what it is, what the car is, let's see where it can take you. Third, how simple it is to actually build solutions on Dataverse for Teams. And so both of these components, the examples and then the build session that we're going to be doing, are live click-throughs, right? So you're going to see us work through live apps that are in the environment right now in federal being used. And then also you're going to see us build pieces of that application and show you that you can do it, and also the idea of a citizen developer, someone in your agency can do this as well. This is, of course, it's not Xing out the idea that we can help you build these applications. Hint, hint, keep on nudging the survey at the end. Don't worry. But that kind of cascades to this next point. What is a citizen developer and why do we all need them? So the people that can help us build these things out in our agencies for free, right? And then finally, before the Q&A, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to work with Microsoft to build your solutions, right? We invite you guys to take advantage of all the resources. Again, my task, and in a lot of ways, Rebecca's task from a more technical perspective, is to make sure you guys have really cool success stories that we can just continue to cascade across the federal space, right? And with that, let's jump into some of the content. Or actually, I think there's one more slide before. Oh yeah, just so that you're not strangers. Sorry about this last non-content slide. But we say this is TAAG, and a lot of people know what TAAG means. I mean, it used to be the game we played as kids, but this TAAG is Teams App Acceleration for Government, right? And what that is, we're kind of a three-pronged horse, right? And so, or a three-pronged machine. We discover federal agency needs. We develop against those needs to make sure we drive great mission work and operational excellence via these applications and solutions. And then we deploy those things across your agency in a way that is secure, it has governance in there. We understand how to have those conversations with the higher ups around security and rollouts. And so we kind of handle those three pillars when it comes to application development, deployment, discovery, all that jazz. And we love to work with you all. And really what these webinars are about is bringing federal together, and us figuring out where we can lean in to help you guys most, right? So that's what we do as TAAG, Teams App Acceleration for Government, Discover, Develop, Deploy. Cool? Ice cold. Sweet. And with that, let me give you an idea of how this is going to work. Anybody watch Oprah, or back in the day kind of watched Oprah? It's kind of like, or Ellen DeGeneres. I love Ellen. The idea is very simple. It's going to be a lot of call and response between me and this wonderful genius sitting across from me virtually. And we'll be asking these questions about sort of Dataverse for Teams. So it'll be kind of interesting to watch. And we'll be monitoring the chat on what your questions are. So sit tight. So with that, let's give them a platform, let's give them an idea of what this platform is, Rebecca. So as an expert here, what would you say Dataverse for Teams is, Rebecca?
So pretty much Dataverse for Teams is just basically a platform that you can use that's going to allow you to bring in your data and be able to use it within Teams as well. And as part of that platform, you can include things like Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents.
I'm on mute. Sorry about that. And sort of with that, you kind of came into the next question that we had. Excuse me. It was what platform services can be used on Dataverse for Teams. And so, is there any more you want to add to that statement?
I mean, like I said, you can use Power Apps and Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents within Teams, and it's just allowing you to have this unified interface where your employees can do their work, so you don't have to take them out to some kind of different area for them to do different things.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it is, as you guys probably already know, Power Platform services like Power Virtual Agent, Power Apps, Power Automate, those things aren't free usually, right? But within the confines of Dataverse for Teams, you get to do some really cool building using these services for free, which is pretty awesome, right? Which leads to the third question. Simply put, what is the key difference between Dataverse for Teams and Dataverse Standalone? Because we understand there are two different flavors of this. So you want to help us out there?
So, of course, like he already mentioned, money. So by having Dataverse for Teams, you can connect to Dataverse or a light version of Dataverse and be able to create applications that would normally be premium if you were connecting to standalone Dataverse. But within Teams, we give that to you for free. And there's some other what do you call it, differences as well. And I'll put a chart or a link to a chart that shows you some of the, core differences. But mainly just going with, some of the things that Dataverse standalone can do, like some of the security within Dataverse for Teams is not the same within Dataverse. So just a little stuff like that when you're talking about dealing with building out those tables. And like I said, I'll put a link in the chat window for y'all to take a look at.
For sure. And again, key difference, like she was saying, this is a free option, so you can begin using this today. And last question here, if it lets me click. Oh yeah, why use Dataverse for Teams?
So as I mentioned earlier, it's a unified interface. So you can incorporate those Power Apps, you can incorporate Power Virtual Agents, you can incorporate Power Automate within Teams to build out some nice applications.
Yeah.
And then it's a good platform for what we're going to talk about later, your citizen developers to use to start developing their, applications.
For sure. And you guys are going to see the free nature of this, the simplicity of this, the fact that you can have folks in your space doing it right now. It really leads to a lot of digital transformation. That's kind of the buzz term right now around the industry, especially at Microsoft. But we'll show what that looks like in some of the examples that pop up. Are there any questions that have been popping up that we should address for the group? Take a look, see.
I think I got them all.
Okay, killing it. Even better than yesterday. All right. Well, yeah. And this is just a quick view. I'm a pictures person. If you're not a pictures person, hopefully this helps anyways. But this is a picture of what this looks like, right? So these Power Platform services sit on top of Dataverse. This supplies this data storage and then back-end app services that allow these things to function, right? And then all of it sits within Teams. That's how Dataverse for Teams works, right? It's all within the confines of Teams, and that's what makes it free, right? So just keep that in mind. And we'll go in more technical depth on environments and stuff like that for those of us who truly like to geek out on that stuff. I do. But we'll swing forward in the meantime. And I think actually this leads us to our first demo. So I'm actually going to swap screens, okay? And so Rebecca's going to take us through a demo that's two-pronged. So one is going to be Vax App, one's going to be Vax Bot. And these are two things that are in the wild today being used across federal agencies. And it's meant to do two things. One, get your mind percolating around what's possible. And two, see that this is already happening, right? So you can jump on board. So with that, you want to swap screens?
Alrighty.
And then I will take a look at the chat. Oh, wow. Tom says, being 8 years at Microsoft, a long time, says, LOL, I've got 35 years in my place. Oh my gosh. That is impressive, my friend.
It's a different life. 35, yeah. That's a different life. I don't know if I could spend 35 years at a company. I don't know.
And Doug, yes, this session is being recorded, my friend. And then Dave said, can you explain the difference between pros and cons between Power Apps, data sources for SharePoint lists and Dataverse tables? Yeah, we'll get into that stuff. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and heart that message and we'll put that on the back end. Good question, though.
Okay. So basically what we're going to show you, like he mentioned, is Vax App. So first I'm going to show you is Vax App. And this app came about basically because we had that federal mandate back when, I guess back in September, that asked for all agencies to be vaccinated. And so what we did was come up with an app that people could use, that, organizations could use. And we made it so that it was highly customizable for each agency, but it gave them the, I guess, functionality that they needed to be able to get those attestations and the vaccine pictures from their users. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you what a user sees. And just note that a lot of the things in here are customizable to your organization. And this app is out on GitHub for everybody to use if you still need some kind of attestation app. So this front screen was a Privacy Act statement. There is on the back end a table where you can put in your information that you want for this statement. So again, we made it customizable. So let's go ahead and click through. So the user would come in and they would click, I acknowledge this statement. And then they're going to say, okay, I want to submit my attestation, or they could view their submission. And you could also put in some links for them to take a look at. And this, all of these right here, these links and whatnot, everything is customizable. And that's what this admin settings screen is available for. So let's pretend we're a user. So I'm going to click on submit my attestation. And this whole top header part is a component, and we'll talk briefly about what components are, but you can build these reusable codes or reusable components to be used in other applications. So that's what a lot of this application is built on, these reusable components. And so I'm going to just fill this out real quick. Like I said, all of this information was customizable. And the reason why you may want to make things customizable or easily be, can't say that word right, easily be usable for your organizations is, let's say you're a development group. And as a development group, you're building out these applications for other agencies, organizations, or whatnot, or business units. And you don't want them to bug you every time they want to change your word. So maybe they want to change this paragraph right here. If you make this customizable for them, they don't need to contact you. They can easily change this wording themselves, okay? So it's just a little something to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm fully vaccinated. I don't know if y'all saw that when I change to say I'm fully vaccinated, then it's going to ask me the date. And it's also now allowing me to upload some images. And so the user would come in, say what date they were vaccinated, and then they would click to upload their vaccine cards and whatnot. Let's see, what do I have? I'll just upload some cute little puppies.
You can't go wrong with dog photos. You never can.
And you'll see here, I have this message that says max number of files reached. So you can, a lot of stuff is customizable within Power Apps, okay? And keep in mind, this is in Power Apps for Teams. It was completely built in Power Apps for Teams, but this could have been also built in standalone Power Apps if need be, okay? And so I can click and say my images are attached, and it's going to upload those images. And then notice my submit button is still grayed out because I still need to click to attest. Okay, so this is what the user would see when they're filling out their attestation. Now, from a development standpoint, let's go take a look at that.
And
go to Power Apps.
By the way, while you're pulling it up, guys, just to highlight some of the things that happened there were certain kind of conditions that needed to be met in order to progress in the app. Conditions or parameters around how many files you could upload, things like that. Those things are fully customizable, and just to double click there, so you do have control over not just what you build, but the user experience, what the user is able to do within that sort of that garden that you build, that walled garden as we call it. So that's pretty dope. And then also, as she's pulling this up, I want you guys in the chat real quick. With seeing that application, how long do you think it took to build that application? Obviously, you think I'm going to say something short. But in the chat, you know, how many weeks do you think it took to build that? Let's see what the chat says. I guess everyone thought it was instant. No. Romaine says 1 week. David said 2 weeks. Kurt said 1, 2 days, 3 days, 1 day. Okay, no, not 1 day.
Wow. Yeah.
2 days, 3 weeks, 1 week. Boom, 5 hours. Okay. Is it okay? Not 4 days. Okay, maybe I should not have told you that. You know, it was relatively short, because I think on the other call, people like may have been like a month or two. So we had the first working version of that up in 14 days. The mandate was pushed out by President Biden on September 9th, and then by the 24th or so, well, not even that. Yeah, but 14 days later, so about 2 weeks, is when we actually had the ability to push out a working version. We polished it to where you see it today, but we had something functional. And so to kind of keep in mind that you can build something that's functional, you can make it pretty later, right? But that's functional to that capacity in about 2 weeks. Maybe it's going to be a month, 2 months, even 2 months if you were to develop that would be short if you're solving a big agency problem, right? And then it's your own kind of technology, right? It's your own creation. So just want to keep that in mind, how fast you can build this stuff. The person that said 1 day, oh my gosh. I think Rebecca's good, but that's a lot of work.
Well, Josh was very particular about things, so no one day, but not one day. Um, Keep in mind, we say 2 weeks, but I was also still working on other customer work at the same time as trying to build this. So this is kind of being built, in the quote spare time that I have working at Microsoft. Yeah. So
Yeah.
two
And one,
weeks, but it was, in between the times I had other customer work to get out.
and one question actually popped up. One person's name who is just external, right? No name, says 14 days, but how many people genuinely just deving on the app was just you and I think Junter.
No,
Primarily,
it's just pretty much me
yeah, pretty
building
you.
out the initial. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just really Rebecca. So that's one person. So if you got a couple people banging on the thing, it can really get it out faster. A couple more things popped up. How's the data protected in Dataverse, and how do you pull the reporting? Okay.
Ah, questions. Okay, so data protected by so within Dataverse for Teams, you don't have the same security levels that you have in standalone Dataverse, but you do have the security levels against the table based on owners, members, and visitors to your group. So you can set your security level that way on the backend Dataverse for Teams tables. What was that other question about? What was the second question you said, Josh?
It was just how is data protected in Dataverse for Team, and how do you pull reporting?
Ah,
Uh,
so we actually do have somewhat reporting. We have an actual separate app that is doing some of the reporting. So we created a separate app for that.
yep.
But
Uh,
just quick, yeah, go ahead.
and all the data is tabular, so it's like table based. So you can always pull that, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
you can
tables
use
on the
Power
back.
BI.
Yep. And so you'll see a little bit of that as we go through the build session. This is just showing you kind of what this app looks like. And then we got one more question. Naveen says, "Can we hire you?"
I'm not sure you can afford me, but I'm always open.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so just real quick, I'm just going to briefly show y'all this. So as I mentioned earlier about components, so these reusable snippets that you can, I can never think of a right word, not objects. I guess we'll go with snippets for now. But these reusable components that you can build that can be used throughout your app as well as in other apps, because I can download these components I built and use them in another application. So just real quick, this header component right here. So over here on the right hand side, you'll just see some properties that I created so that people can change this header when they need to. And so there's like a label, there's a back button, the color header, and etc. So let me show you what that looks like in action. So if I go to one of the screens, let me zoom that out just a little. Here's that same header component put on a screen. Notice the word hello is here. And so over here on the right hand side, well, there were those custom properties that I made. And so if I wanted to change this to, instead of hello, thank you, I can do that. And as the customer, let's say you're the developer and you built it for your customer. As a customer, I don't have to bug the developer now to change something simple like the header. Or if I wanted to change this logo, well, I gave them a way to change the logo to something else. And then they can do this on whatever screen that they want to. So any screen that has this header, I can customize that screen to look and say and do whatever I want it to do. Okay. So this was the Vax app. Now I'm going to show you the Vax bot. So now I know y'all are going to ask for DoD. Power Virtual Agent for Teams is not quite yet available.
Yep. And
So that's the only downside for you guys. It's not quite available yet in DoD Cloud.
and there's a couple of questions that popped up in the chat. One, I'll
Okay.
make a comment first. Is that kind of cool to have the idea of putting the power in the hands of the people to customize that application, the logo, whatever it has to say on that banner there, where it says vaccination, vax attestation, right? Things like that take the pressure off of IT, right? We'll get more into that when we get into citizen development. But the fact that you have these, I guess, what do we call them? We didn't call them components. We called them.
Well, they're cloud components, technically.
Yeah, yeah. These little components that are variable. Really awesome. But there's a couple questions that pop up that I want to get to. It says, is there a native tool for Dataverse for Teams that allows data export?
So Dataverse for Teams can export itself. So there is an export option within Dataverse for Teams, if that's what you're asking.
Yep. And then another one, this is, I saw in the MS documentation that components were still in preview status. Is that true?
Yes, technically they have been in preview status for what, a couple of years now. So, yes, they're still in preview status, but they're kind of changing it up. So I think they're about to go GA. They're kind of changing it up a little in that they kind of want you to use what's called the component library now versus just throwing the components, building them within the app singularly. And so that's coming up to be, what do you call it? That's what they're changing the components to do. To answer the question about importing export, if you notice up here at top, I'm in one of my Dataverse for Teams areas. And so I have this import option where I can import an app, tables, Power Virtual Agents and whatnot. And then if I wanted to export one or export these tables, and I think there's a Canvas app in here, and then I can select what I want and then click export.
Yep. Pretty slick. Sweet. And yes, Kurt, thank you for saying that. The components do work great. They work great when you use them. Sweet. We'll keep it going. And right now, where we are, we're going to show you the VAX bot. I'm excited about this one.
So this is going to be a little teaser for our next webinar. So hint, our next webinar is going to be on Power Virtual Agent for Teams. And I like the Power Virtual Agent for Teams. One is that it allows you to easily create your own chatbot. And you can literally create a chatbot in like 5 minutes or less. So I love this. So I created a bot that also does the same thing as what the VAX app does. And so I'm going to trigger my bot to start talking to him. And so I can say VAX app is one of the trigger phrases that I gave it to start. And it's asked me, all right, are you fully vaccinated? Yep, I am. And then it's going to ask me, okay, which one of those vaccination, date. And then it's going to ask me which, let's say 9, 10, 20, 21. And then it's going to ask me which one I got. I'll say, we'll just say Pfizer. And then it's going to ask me to upload my images. Now, the only thing I could not get to do, but still pretty cool, was to make this link look better. But this is what they gave so far. So I click the link and then I can upload my images files. And I'll use my doggies again.
You cannot go wrong with dogs. Every
They're
time.
so cute.
Telling you.
Dogs, but you know, I just thought they looked so cute. Maybe one day I'll have a dog.
What? Oh yeah, you don't. I didn't even know that you had pictures of dogs but didn't have one. I was like, what?
I just think they're cute. I don't want the maintenance though.
COVID has made me want another dog. Yeah, I'm this close.
So the bot asked me, okay, are you done uploading your images? I'm going to click yes. And watch what happens. And so, you know, there is a flow running in the Power Automate flow running in the background that's taking those images and moving them over for me. And then it's also posting that nice little adaptive card that we're about to go take a look at. And then you see that I have a message that says, thank you for submitting. So if I go into my chat, I will have my pictures and I will see the nice little doggies. And there we go. So there's my nice little pictures. There's my adaptive card that shows, hey, you did this attestation, and this is what the type you did of your vaccine, and here's the date. And then there's a picture of technically which was supposed to be the front and back side of my vaccine card.
Yep.
So this is pretty cool.
It's super cool, and I kind of want to cut in here if I can.
Yeah.
We just did the same thing, right? A bot interface, so it's more conversational as opposed to a Canvas app interface, right? Same an end goal, right? Different sort of way of going about it, which is pretty cool. If that's kind of cool, and you can imagine either a bot that you can create or a Canvas app you can create that may not be vaccination centric, but something else. Put a 1 in the chat if you find this interesting and you can find something to apply to in your agency, whether it be ticketing, whether it be help desk questions, whether it be taking a process from 10 steps to 2. Daryl Buck says 1. Yep. Denise says yep.
And I've built help desk bots as well for some of my customers. They want a help desk bot, and I have it. They come to the bot, they fill out the info, and then if we need to open a ticket, one of my customers has it going to ServiceNow, but we're doing it all through Teams, and it's opening a ticket up in ServiceNow for them. Even have one that will, if it's something urgent, that it will, ping a team channel saying, hey, this person has an urgent matter. Can someone please pick this up? And I mean, so you can do all kind of cool stuff.
Pretty slick. And I see DK said it's helpful. Ken, we got, last name Cherry, Tanisha, Rudy, awesome. Joseph, that's my brother's name. Tara, Nancy. So a lot of folks, yeah, you find it, this could be helpful, right? So keep in mind, again, back to the beginning when I said, what's your current state, what's your dream state? You're going to find a lot of tools that can get you to your dream state. Take this not just at face value, but what it could be applied to, right? Not just the car, but where it might be able to take it. So I'll let you jump on to building something now. And hold on for a quick sec. One more thing. Daryl Buck says, is it built by using a lot of if-then statements?
Oh,
the bots.
No, man. So let me show you that real quick. Let me go to Power Virtual Agents.
And we can't give you the whole kit and caboodle because we got that for next month, but we'll give you a peek at what's happening. But good question, Daryl.
So that vaccine bot, real quick. I have 2 branches off of my bot, mainly. Let me go to topics.
And to explain the interface really quickly, because you're going to see a lot of stuff right now. Again, this is not a training session, just kind of a high overview. On the right hand, this canvas is over there. That shows the sort of the path that your bot will go down, the logic path. In the beginning is going to be triggering phrases, and those can be a bunch of them. And then it shows based on what you say to that triggering phrase, how you go about things. So Rebecca's going to give more clarity here, but just want to give you an idea of where to look on this screen.
You were doing good. You were doing good explaining it.
Oh, I like PVA. This is one I actually do know very well.
So just that main question that we started out with, well, the trigger phrase, and you saw me type Vax app. This is how your users would start that bot. And then I asked that one main question, are you fully vaccinated? Yes or no? If yes, then it went down this branch of the, what is the word called? Good Lord.
Decision tree?
Branch? Decision tree, there you go. So take this side of the decision tree if you're a yes. So you can see literally for this one, it just goes straight down asking the different questions, depending on if you answered yes or no to the original question. And then you can see there's actually where the flow is running. And this one actually has 2 flows. So there's this VaxApp flow, and then there's another flow that took those documents that the user uploaded and moved them over to, I think, Dataverse for Teams. And so the good thing about PVA is that you can also do surveys. I just stopped it with thank you for submitting, but you could have had a survey or anything like that as well. So there's so many different things you can do with this. And I also could have created this in 5 minutes by, if you already have like FAQ, like maybe you want an FAQ bot or something. If you already have a FAQ site, you can literally just put that URL of your FAQ site into the bot, and it will set up that question answer type scenario for you. So there's so many different ways.
You really, I'm telling you, come back for next month because we're really going deep. But how impactful would that be to not have to build everything from scratch, right? To where you can bring in what you already built, a legacy piece of information, or a legacy piece of content, and populate or make your bot smart is what I call it. Pretty slick, right? What's next?
Okay, so real quick, we're just going to show you how to get started for those who have never used Dataverse for Teams. So real quick, on the left-hand side within Teams, so make sure you're in Teams. On the left-hand side, you're going to click this ellipse down here, and you're going to start typing the word power. And you're looking for Power Apps. Now, if you do not see Power Apps, that means your team's administrators do not like you right now, and they probably have it blocked. So you're going to want to reach out to them to see if they can unblock that for you. because everyone should have Dataverse for Teams, should have Power Apps available now for them. Okay.
Yep.
So you can, depending on what your screen shows, I'm going to just go ahead and click Start Now. And then it's going to have me pick which team I want to create my first app in. So I'm going to pick a team that I have never created an app in. And you're going to see this message saying, you're the first person to create an app in this team. We'll need to do some back end stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and click to create. And basically what it's doing is creating this whole environment in the back end for me to be able to create these Dataverse for Team tables and apps and whatnot in. Okay, so it's going to pop up and hopefully and tell me it's ready in a second here. And I'll just refresh just in case. And then usually the first thing it's going to have you do, although you don't need to keep this app, is it's going to have you just create a quick dummy app. And if you saw that pop up, there was a quick pop up right there. And it tells me, all right, you're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and say start now. And I'm going to go back to that team and we'll just create a quick table and app real quick. So you can just see how to relate this stuff. So I'm going to click create.
And tables are going to harbor all your information, right? So as we write to this app, so imagine a drop down and the choices are A, B, and C, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry ice cream. The tables are where we're going to write this data to, record and all that, or we can also pull data from those tables. So that's just where it's sitting. The front end is what we're creating right now. Or we're creating a table right now.
We're creating an app.
Okay.
And within the app, we'll go ahead and click the button to create the table. You don't have to create tables within the app. You can create them outside of the app. It's just that usually for the first one, they just have you come do an app. I usually just come, click save, and then delete the app if I don't need it.
And by the way, as we're going through this, the goal of this is to show you, we're going to show you something probably that's going to get done in the next like 3 to 5 minutes. When you're building just a piece of an application, how simple it can be is what we're showing. But I want you to keep in mind, whether it's you or a citizen developer, which we're going to define later, someone in your organization that just loves to tinker around with tech, those people are the ones that are really going to get in here and want to build on these. And we're also, again, I'm urging you guys to kind of be a part of our, to join us and do that survey. We can help you guys out in getting started on these things, but we're just trying to show how simple it can be. I see some questions popping up that I'm wanting to answer in the meantime. It says, what is the best practice for, well, I'll answer that one later. It says, what's the best practice to deploy a Dataverse for Teams and use it enterprise-wide? I want to answer that later because it's a longer answer. It's not tough, but it's a longer answer, so I'll do that on it. And then here's one for you. If you wanted to do data analytics, would all the data need to be already loaded into a Teams channel or an organizational SharePoint online?
I mean, if you're doing data analytics, it could be in either one. So you could have it in a Dataverse for Teams table. You could have it in SharePoint and bring those two data sources together into like Power BI or something along those lines.
Awesome. Irene, let me know if that answers your question. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to click to create a new table. Just give our table a name. I'm just going to call it employee right now. And then click create. I'm just going to put in one column just so we can see how the table works. But you'll see I can create columns. I can add in already data if I wanted to within this table, but this table only has one column. I'm going to create one more new column. And so just like you would in, like, if you're used to SharePoint, same thing. You would come in here, put your column name. So I'm just going to call this email address. You'll see that we have this data type, same thing like with SharePoint. You have a data type that you can choose. And Dataverse for Teams actually has one that looks at email. And I'm just going to click create. So out of the box, just like with SharePoint, you have that title column. Same thing, we have a name column out of the box. And so once I'm done with creating my table, I'm going to click close. And now I can use this table within this Power App that I'm in. I could use that table within a bot. And I can use that table and connect it to a Power Automate within this Power App as well. So real quick, I'm just going to say, create a quick little screen. I'm going to set it up to employees that I just created. And you'll notice real quick out of the box, it's going to create the screen for me. It's showing me that I can do, let me preview, sorry. I can click on to create a new record. And even spell my own name. And then I could submit that record.
And
now it's pretty done.
It's pretty cool. And so what we just did here, does everybody see how created a table where data is going to reside, or how it's going to and we pick which type of data is going to be in each column, and how quickly we can start building out fields. So let's say there's a process that usually involves people sending emails and putting certain criteria into emails. You can have a Canvas app that you can build out relatively quickly to do stuff like that. Does that seem pretty simple so far? If it seems kind of simple, put an S in the chat. Seems kind of simple, put an S in the chat.
And then, yeah, let me know how that goes. And then real quick, once you're done, let's say I built out this fabulous app. I want everybody to use it. Make sure you hit save.
Awesome, awesome.
And then you're going to click publish to teams. So right now I am going to publish this to the team channel that I am in. And so it's going to ask me, well, do you want to put it on the general tab? Yeah, we'll go for that. The general channel. I'll click save and close. And now it's published to that channel. So if I come over here to teams, find my TAAG team. There's my app. I probably should have named it better. I don't know why it wants to refresh, but.
This is our super.
And now here's my app that I just created.
Pretty slick. And I saw a bunch of S's from everybody. Joseph, from Tara, from Brad, Nancy, Irene. It's pretty simple, right? And so again, you got to, at some point, you probably make the app look really nice, but the functionality is not too far off. I want to answer a couple questions that came through the chat. So Shalani, excuse me, Shalini, my apologies. I hope that I'm not butchering your name. It says great session so far. Will this session be repeated in the near future? I'd like a few more people from our organization to attend. Now, we have recorded this session just like we did the one yesterday, so you'll have access to this afterwards. I've made sure the chat is going to be accessible afterwards. Another one that came through, can we do relational databases within these apps?
So you can do, like, when you say relational databases, to an extent, yes. Now, Dataverse for standalone Dataverse does a much better job at the whole relationship. But yes, you can still do relationships between your tables.
Sweet. One for you really quick from Stephen Combs. What's going on, Stephen? Are there thresholds or limitations on the size of tables, Rebecca?
So in your tables, you can have up to 1 million records within 1 million rows within your table. And then keep in mind that the database size all up is 2 gigs, although we take about 512 megs of that starting out.
Sweet. And then is there any licensing limitations on the creation of custom tables?
So you can create custom tables all day. That's what I just did, was create that custom table. It is free as long as you're in Dataverse for Teams and using Dataverse for Teams and not Dataverse all up.
Yeah. Sweet. And then I see Naveen, my friend, and I love that name. Naveen, you say, what if as a Teams admin, I want to give dev team access to Power Apps, right? So just a specific group, how to apply such a permission? It's pretty simple through that Teams admin portal. I could even show you, but it's more of a show and tell rather than tell you what it is right now. I know you have to go into Teams apps, go into policy permissions, and then assign certain folks into a group. But that's more of a show and tell. Maybe on the back end of this, if we got some time and I can kill the recording, just let me know. Just remind me, okay? And I wanted to spin through some other cues because after this, we're almost done in our session. Teams is some. I need to clarify. Shar says, I need to clarify. When you say Dataverse for Teams, is this something that should be available on GCC, or is this an app you buy?
No, this is GCC. This is commercial. It's GCC High. It's DoD. So if you saw me when I just started building out that app, where I went to the team and I clicked on to create that first Power App, that this is how you're going to get started with Dataverse for Teams. It is included within your Teams license. Like I said, if you do a search for Power Apps when you go to apps and the Teams, if you do not see it, please reach out to your Teams administrator to ask them to unblock it.
Sweet. Yeah. And so I'll go back to the to some of the other questions on our way to the Q&A. But for now, are we done building that component?
Yep.
Sweet. So let's switch gears. Guys, so far, thank you guys for all the energy. It's dope. Let me share my screen now. Sweet. And hopefully you guys are getting value out of this. All right. So everything that we've done so far, just to kind of put things in perspective, everything that we've done so far is to empower you around two ideas. One, what's being used and what's possible, right? Let's kind of marry those two. And two, the fact that you can do it in your agency today. Now, it's not a journey that you need to take alone. Again, I'm going to shamelessly plug this survey before you ever even see it. Do the survey, come work with us. We'd love to help you out, right? For those folks that may have to jump early, that survey is going to be sitting in the chat as well. So I'll make sure I put that there. But that's what we want to get your minds around. And this next piece is about citizen developers, the people that can help develop things internally for your agency, okay? So it says, this is a quote from our wonderful CEO. It says 500 million apps are going to be created in the next 5 years. Think about that. It's a lot of apps. That's more than that's been created, more than that's been created over the last 40 years. So it's huge. The only challenge with that is we don't have enough professional developers to build these applications. So we need citizen developers. So empowering citizen developers is what Power Platform is all about, right? That's what it's built for. And with that, we got to wonder, what is a citizen developer? And so me and Rebecca will go back and forth here just to give you an idea of what to look for folks that can build on these applications. Here's the thing. When I think about a citizen developer, I think about a person that's integrated in the business, that understands the processes that need to be evolved, maybe short from 10 steps to 2. And they're intrigued enough in technology to want to go and get their hands dirty, so to speak, right? But essentially, those are the attributes of one. But what they do is a citizen developer is one that's not pro dev, but uses things like Power Platform to build out agency solutions. Anything to add to that?
So basically, my thought of a citizen developer are those ones that are always curious. They're the ones that's always, reaching out to the IT team saying, hey, I just saw this video and, it says that we can do X, Y, Z. So you always look for your citizen developers that are the curious ones and that seem to be on the cutting edge of technology.
100%. And that kind of leads to the next question. What's the value in having citizen developers, Rebecca?
Basically, it kind of takes the onus off of your IT team, allowing them to build out those more critical enterprise-wide applications, and it allows those citizen developers to be able to build out, the applications that just may be relevant to them or just a small section of their agency or group.
Yeah. And it's just so valuable having somebody grassroots on the ground that understands what's happening. Because sometimes IT, for all you all do for us, do a lot, you may not know exactly what micro process needs to be amended for this unit. And that's what happens. You get you'll get applications that are just for this finance group or just for this group, that group, right? And they'll help those individuals groups problems, right? Those are things that pro devs may not deal with because they only deal with big challenges, right? But there's a lot of big challenges that get solved, and we just like the Vax app. Those things come from citizen developers. That came from a citizen developer. So let's shift gears. How do I find a citizen developer? I think Rebecca gave some good ideas on this already.
Yeah, pretty much find those ones that are always bugging the IT team that want all the new technology and to try stuff out. You'll find a good group right there of your citizen developers.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then I think this is the last one. What are the attributes of a good citizen developer? And I think Rebecca spoke to this one as well. Just somebody eager to get after the problems, that always notices where the gaps are, somebody that loves to tinker around the tech. Yeah, you'd be surprised at how many of them are actually in your agency, right? And like Rebecca says, they're usually the first people to go to IT and say, we need this. Why isn't this here, right? And the Power Platform helps those folks go from asking about it to actually actioning on it. Pretty cool stuff. And with that, what's next, right? We're coming to the end of our webinar here. Okay, perfect. I see your question, David. We're coming to the end of our webinar here, but there's a couple things I want you, or I guess a few things I want you to keep in mind. One, there's an ask to complete this survey in the chat. This survey is great, okay? So we had a ton of people fill it out yesterday. But the reason why it's so great is not because taking surveys is fun. It's because it gives you the opportunity to work with people like Rebecca. Rebecca is a part of the TAAG team, a wonderful part of the TAAG team. And we can work out what it looks like to evolve your agency using these capabilities, right? What does it look like to work with us one-on-one to drive solutions in your agency? What does it look like for us to help you build that citizen developer population in your agency, right? So that you're pumping out your own solutions. Two, begin to think about who your citizen developers might be and what challenges they may be able to solve using Power Platform. And three, we do these things once a month, right? We really enjoy this. Come out and join us again next month because we're going to be talking about Power Virtual Agents. And I cannot say it enough. I'm going to put this link in the chat. Please complete the survey. And I even have a QR code if you want to do it on your phone and you're able to do it. You should be able to navigate there. But I'm going to drop it in the chat and I'll begin the Q&A. If you can start attacking those Q&As while I put this in the chat, that'd be awesome, Rebecca.
Okay. So I've been posting a lot as I was catching the questions in the chat window. I think some of the questions were templates that are available within Power Apps. You can get a developer account or do a trial account within just lost my train of thought on the commercial side, and you can download those templates and upload those within Power Apps them. Someone asked, can you add images in Dataverse for Teams? Yes, the file and image column is available in Dataverse for Teams. The data that I collected within the app went into a backend table that I created earlier. Let's see. I see Jay answered a couple of the questions. Thank you, Jay.
Awesome. And by the way, again, I just dropped that survey link in the chat. Jump on that survey. And real quick, before everybody leaves,
tell them copy and paste the link.
Oh yeah, you'll have to copy and paste the link into a new browser. So sorry about that. Just how it works, I guess. If you got value from this session, can you put a V in the chat if you got some value from this session? You figure out some things that may work for your agency. Maybe want to reach out to us and have a follow-up. If you got some value, put a V in the chat for me. I see Michael, I see Nelson, I see Tina, I see Belle, I see last name Belle, Tara, Nancy, Liz King, Matthew, Shotzi, Rachel, Graham, Irene, Alex, external, Daryl Buck, awesome. Yeah, and I'm loving to see all the V's. I'm glad you guys are getting value. For everyone that put a V and everyone that that hasn't had a chance to, throw in, make sure you do that survey. That's going to help us pinpoint and follow up with you all and see what it looks like to help evolve your agency, doing some of the stuff that Rebecca showed us so wonderfully, and some of the things that we can kind of imagine coming from some of these solutions. Nancy, awesome. Vaishali, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Noel, awesome. I see another question. I have a coworker that wasn't able to register for this event. Do you have an email address that he can reach so he can sign up for the monthly meetings? So on the survey, on the bottom of the survey, it asks you if you want to be notified for these events. I guess you can take it twice on his behalf if you'd like, and just put his email in there.
Or just give them the survey link and let them fill it out.
Oh, actually, yes. Don't do that. Give them the survey link and have them fill it out. It's going to ask you what agency you're from, what you're most interested in learning. Do you want to be notified about TAAG events in the future? And also what might you like to see at future TAAG events? Awesome. I'm glad I pronounced it right, Vaishali. Sweet. Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
So this was the last session for this particular topic. We will try to figure out how we can get the recording out to you all.
It should exist in the chat. I mean, if they're able to access the chat, they may be able to get it from there. I already have the chat to work post meeting. If that doesn't work, just ping us in the chat and we'll see. We'll stick around for a few more minutes because we got 1 more minute. We'll stick around to answer some questions. I got no problem with that. Do you have recordings of previous training events? I do not believe so. We recorded yesterday's. Yesterday's the same. Huh?
We only had one other training event, technically.
Yeah. We do these technically twice a month, but it's the same. It's this back to back. So Tuesday, Wednesday. We did it last month. Tuesday, Wednesday. This one. So same content, 2 days. Yeah, and again, just do that survey. If you need to copy and paste that into another, I guess URL bar or something like that, you're fine. But that'll be how you stay involved. And otherwise, we send this information out via your Microsoft account team. So if you ask about, hey, I saw this TAAG event, then they'll make sure to get in touch with us. I see David. David says, can you demo setting up relationships within Dataverse?
I have to take that offline.
That's an offline sort of thing. And then thank you for this. It's been awesome. Survey completed. Thank you so much, Rachel. And with that, we'll stick around for about a minute or two, about 2 minutes for any other questions that may pop up. If we didn't get your question, if you could just copy and paste it again so that we can make sure we answer it. But everyone else, if you have to jump, you can jump. Awesome. Glad you guys got value. It's been awesome. Thank you guys so much for the participation.
And Naveen, yes, you can engage with Premiere through your CSAM to us. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Sweet. Sharon, thank you. Char, thank you. Denise, thank you. Tanisha, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation. Awesome. Naveen, thank you, my friend. I see another question. It says, can an application be set up to provide privileged access to Dataverse data? And some users get lesser permissions? Matthew, thank you, my friend.
External, yes. I think it's on the roadmap. I'm not 100% sure on VA on DoD about Power Virtual Agents.
Sharon, the link to the recording it'll pop up in this meeting chat. It'll pop up after this meeting, probably about 2, 3, maybe about 5 minutes afterwards. It'll transcribe and everything. And Jay, thank you so much. Jay is an MVP. He's over here answering questions the whole time. Appreciate that. Awesome. Sweet. And I see no more new questions popping up, but I'll stick around for 60 more seconds. Awesome. Of course, Sharon. Thank you. And then we'll jump. I'd love to link to both recordings as my sound was jacked up and I missed the beginning. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Micah. You wouldn't have access to the other one because you weren't invited to that, or you didn't register for that date, so it was yesterday, but you will have access to this one. And if your sound was kind of not great, you should still the recording should have captured what you needed. And with that, guys, we'll see you guys next month.
Thank y'all.
I'll stop the recording here. It's been awesome. Let me stop the recording here.